Hello. Many of you already know me. I'm Sean Smith. And I wanted to go live today because I wanted to discuss something that's troubling my heart. It hit me in the pit of my stomach. Frankly, I was utterly disgusted by it when I heard it. But there was a doctor, a so called doctor, who was on social media and he claimed that he cured dementia in some of his patients. Now, this is especially egregious to me because one, if you know me, that you know that I am all in on educating society about ways to help to one, modify the risk factors of dementia, possibly prevent it, because up to 45% of all dementia cases are potentially preventable. That's as a whole, worldwide. If you take 1 million people and you put them in a room, up to 450,000 of them do not have to acquire or potentially do not have to acquire dementia. Now, here's a doctor, and any doctor worth their weight in salt knows that there is currently no cure for dementia. There are treatments, there are studies that are going on that are showing promising results, but there's no cure. And for someone who claims to carry a medical license to sit on social media and give a claim that they have actually curing something that is incurable, I find the act reprehensible. Today, I'm not going to call him out by name, but I promise you that if I see him again and he's making that same claim, that I will point him out. There is no cure for dementia. We hope, we pray. Their science is working hard toward it. But as of today, there is no cure. There are treatments. Now, you're probably saying, why is this so troubling to you, to me as an individual? Well, one, having people to me in my life who are very close to me who live with it every day. And having people in my life who are close to me who are caring for people who are living with cognitive change every day. Owning a home care agency here in the state of Connecticut that delivers care to people who are living with cognitive change every day. Being a certified dementia care trainer, me and Bridget, training the staff who go into the homes and care for these families every single day, this is very real to me. Having to look and listen to a family who heard this person speak and believed that there was hope that their loved one could be cured soon. And then knowing and having to find a way to relate to them that this is not true, that there is no cure, and possibly destroy every bit of hope that they built, is something that is one of the most difficult things that I have ever had to do. All because this liar stood up here on social media, got up here on social media, and with thousands of followers, and said that he cured it. I think he should be banned from social media personally. The good news, the science is moving. The work is being done. Studies are showing promise. We know more now about the possibility of preventing it or lessening those risk factors than we ever did before. We have more insight into how the brain functions every day than we've ever had. We know now that there are many more signs that help us to detect what's going on or detect it early so that we can help to plateau the decline or increase the functional lifespan, as I like to say. But there's a lot of work left to be done. I'm going to share some information with you that is also troubling. How there's disparities in the actual diagnosing of dementia and why that is. In fact, we are going to be next week launching a series of videos of studies on our channel, on our Wealthy Nation channel. We're also producing a lot of content on our Aging Whealthily podcast channel. We also have built the Wealthy Nation Facebook group, and we invite you to join. We're going to be recording this video. We'll put the links down in the descriptions on the videos. We're going to be recording a lot of content, inviting people to join. But we are going to be giving and releasing a boatload of information in regards to dementia, a lot of information that you are not hearing on your regular channels in the coming weeks. One that we're going to delve deep into is why there's a disparity and what causes it in the diagnosis when it comes along racial lines. So a lot of you already noticed. You've seen a change in your loved one. Maybe it was the keys that they left in the refrigerator. And when you finally said something out loud, somebody told you that it was normal aging. They're just getting older. Now, here's what I need you to know. This is what I need you to know about that sentence. In an Alzheimer's Association survey, more than half of Black Americans said they believe significant memory loss is a normal part of aging. And roughly 1 in 5 said they feel insulted if a doctor suggested a memory test. 1 in 5. Because that's not a story, and that's not a story about how families didn't know any better. That is a story about families who were never told. You see, somebody decided years ago whose brain the science was going to be built around. It was a decision that was made. And guess what? It wasn't yours. I want you to give me 15 minutes. I want you to put the phone down. And I want to show you the paper trail. Now, citizens, here's what your brain needs to know this week. I'm Sean Smith, and this is Wealthy Nation. This is a live version of Wealthy Nation because I felt that this information should not be held up. It should not wait for a recording. It should not wait for editing. This is something that you need to know and you need to be given raw today. So it's not what your brain needs to know this week. This is what your brain needs to know right now. And this is the first session of a new series that we're calling The Brain Gap. And quick, I want you to know who you're listening to if you haven't heard me before. Bridget and I are both certified dementia care trainers through the Alzheimer's Association. And what that means is that we actually train and certify caregivers to support people who are living with cognitive change. Now, between Bridget and me, we have spent more than 50 years in healthcare. And for the last 10, we've owned our own home care agency right here in the state of Connecticut. And we done sat with thousands of families at thousands of kitchen tables. So when we talk about your brain, this isn't theory for us. This is the work that we do every single day. Now, this is Wealthy Nation and is brought to you by A Touch of Love Home Care. and produced by Power Couple Media. Now, before we go one step further, I owe you a promise. Everything you're going to get in the next 15 minutes, we read at the source, not the flyer, the study that the flyer was quoting. And where the evidence is thin, I'm going to tell you that it's thin. So the gap is real. The gap is large. And the fine detail is blurrier than anybody ever admits. So I want you to think about a photograph taken in low light. You can make out the shape. The shape is unmistakable, but the edges are soft. And anybody who tells you this picture is perfectly sharp is selling you something. Now, is there actually a gap? Yes. And one study measured it better than almost anything else that's out there. Christine Yap and colleagues at the British Medical Journal, 2013, they followed real people for 12 years, 2,457 adults, the average age of 73. About 42% of them were Black. Now, over those 12 years, 449 people developed dementia. 20.7% of the Black participants. 16.6% of the white participants. In risk terms, Black participants were about 44% more likely to develop dementia over that stretch. The researchers went looking for what explained it. So they started stripping out other reasons, one block at a time. First, age, sex, APOE gene, other health conditions, smoking, drinking, physical activity. The gap barely moved. It was still there. Then they added one more block, one more. Income. Whether you can make ends meet, education, literacy, and the gap was no longer statistically detectable. I want you to say it with me. They adjusted for genes and lifestyle, and the gap held. They adjusted for money and schooling, and the gap went quiet. This is real. Now, the thing I hear more than anything else, it must be genetic. The most studied Alzheimer's risk gene is called APOE, APO, a landmark analysis in the Journal of the American Medical Association, 1997. They pulled data from 40 research teams. What they found, the link between that gene and Alzheimer's was weaker in African American participants than in white participants. Weaker. And this year, a team in Nature Communications described a small deletion near APOE linked to lower Alzheimer's risk in African Americans. Now, the other half, because I won't give you only the encouraging part, we get the truth here. A different gene, ABCA7, carries a risk variant that shows up more often in African American populations. And it is associated with higher risk. But genetics is not the explanation. Because the thing that closed the gap in the YAF study wasn't a gene. It was income, education, and whether the money reached the end of the month. All right. Getting the disease is the first gap. Getting somebody to notice is the second. There's a stage before dementia. It's called mild cognitive impairment, MCI, real memory trouble, measurable on a test. But you're still driving, still working, still yourself. That stage is the door. It is the only window where the new drugs have any chance of doing anything at all. Soren Matke and colleagues in Alzheimer's Research and Therapy 2023 took Medicare claims and held them against a model of how many cases should be out there. Here's the detection rate. The share expected cases actually caught. White beneficiaries, 9.8%. Hispanic beneficiaries, 4.8%. Black beneficiaries, 3.9%. Roughly 2.5 times more of the expected cases caught in white beneficiaries than in black beneficiaries. In the same paper, about 92% of expected MCI in this country goes undiagnosed. That's a big number. For everybody, not just one group. The new Alzheimer's drugs only work early. A study in JAMA Network Open 2025 looked at early uptake of one of them, lecanemab, among Medicare beneficiaries. White patients, 0.23%. Black patients, 0.04%, roughly six-fold. And somebody will write that up as a gap in adoption. It's not adoption. It's the end of a chain that started years early in an exam room when somebody wasn't listened to. So let's go back to the beginning of that chain. Last year, researchers published a review in Dementia and Geriatric Cognitive Disorders, looking at 44 American dementia prevention trials. Only 27 of the 44 reported the race or ethnicity of their participants at all. They're not reporting the race at all. White participants, 75.4%. Black participants, 4.9%. Latino participants, 4.1%. Asian participants, 0.3%. American Indian and Alaska Native participants, 0. Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander participants, 0. Not a small number, 0. The researchers checked which eligibility rules, the written rules about who's allowed in, tracked with less diverse enrollment, English language proficiency, and screening applicants on their motivation to participate. Those are not accidents at a front desk. So the villain here is not a person, and it is not a company. It's a set of design choices, and every one of them is on paper. In JAMA 2025, researchers linked more than 4 million census records to death records. 4 million. So that they could count people by what they said about themselves while they were alive. When an American Indian or Alaskan Native person died, 41% of the time the death certificate did not record as such. 1% for white descendants, 2.8 for Black, 6.8 for Asian and Pacific Islanders, 10.9 for Hispanic, 41. The authors called it statistical erasure. And the mechanism, the author's name, is almost boring. The demographic box on a death certificate is often filled in by a funeral director. He may simply not have accurate information. Their own recommendation is training funeral directors to ask the next of kin. None of this says your family didn't show up. The survey data says the opposite. Black American rate early diagnosis is very important at a higher rate than any other group asked. They raise memory concerns with the doctor at least as often as average, at least as often. They show up. The system fails after they arrive. You know what? The industry never respected us. Let's be for real. We were customers to them. Numbers on a spreadsheet. So we're building this nation. And in this nation, the citizens get the truth. Now, here's something we know firsthand, that the hardest conversations about getting older do not happen in a doctor's office. They happen at a kitchen table when a family realizes someone they love needs a little more help at home. That's why this show is brought to you by A Touch of Love Home Care, our own family's agency, right here in Connecticut. It's built on the idea that people you love deserve to stay in their home with their dignity, cared for like family. From a few hours a week to around-the-clock care or around-the-clock support. A Touch of Love is there when you can't be. Take a moment, go visit atouchoflovehomecare.com. And that's A Touch of Love, where we put compassion in every action, love in every touch. So citizens, I want to tell you, if this is the kind of truth that you came here for, that you like, I want you to hit subscribe. Go over to Wealthy Nation, join the Wealthy Nation, go to agentwealthily.com, because every week we come back here with one job: your brain, your money, and your life. And we don't ask the industry for permission to do it. We don't need their permission to tell you the truth. And subscribers, you get every episode, every segment, every fact check first. So subscribe, come on, and stay in the nation. Now, citizens, I gave you a lot. And we sit at kitchen tables where a daughter has been crying or been carrying this alone for years, before anybody put a name to it. And almost every time, somebody in that family said the same thing early on: she's just getting older. Not out of neglect, it's not, but out of hope. Because the alternative was a word that nobody wanted to say out loud. So here's what I'll tell you. Naming it early does not make it worse. Naming it early is how you get help. While the person you love can still tell you what they want. That's the whole thing. Early. Now, first, the truth that nobody's selling. If somebody is selling you a pill for memory, keep your money. A trial called Sprint randomly assigned more than 9,000 people with high blood pressure to tight blood pressure control or standard control. Then it measured what happened to their brains. Now here's the honest result, including the part that did not work. On dementia itself, the trial did not find a statistically significant drop. But on mild cognitive impairment, that early stage, the door, it did. Cases fell from 18.3 per 1,000 persons years to 14.6. And in a follow-up published in Neurology in 2025, at a median of about 7 years, the finding still held. Because Sprint enrolled 2,802 Black participants. Just under 30% of the trial, against the field where the average is closer to 5. Think of your brain as a house at the end of a long water line. Every pipe runs through your blood vessels. Protect the plumbing, protect the house. In a separate study called Cardia, by age 55, about 76% of Black men and about 76% of Black women had developed high blood pressure, against 55% of white men and 40% of white women. The risk arrives early, and treating it appears to matter. So here's your homework. 3 things. 1, know your blood pressure number. Start in your 40s, not your 70s. 2, get your hearing and your vision checked. And 3, if you're the one carrying somebody right now, ask your doctor's office about Medicare's GUIDE program. It's built for dementia caregivers. Ask what you qualify for. Now, here's what we're doing about it. The brain gap runs every week from here. What the evidence rules out, where the gap actually comes from, what protects your brain, graded honestly, and how to walk into a doctor's office and not get brushed off. Everything we say, we source. You can check our work. Now, 3 things before I let you go. 1, follow us everywhere we are. Subscribe right on Wealthy Nation. Go right to YouTube, look up, put in the Wealthy Nation and subscribe. Find the Aging Wealthily podcast. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on all the podcasting platforms. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Aging Wealthily Podcast. And come into the Wealthy Nation Facebook group. You can look it up, the Wealthy Nation, spelled WHEALTHY. Wealthy, a combination of wealth and health. That's where citizens actually can talk to each other. 2, 1 word in the comments. The first name of the person you are carrying. First name only. I'm going to read them. 3, and this is the one that matters. Make 1 appointment this week. Blood pressure, hearing, or the memory conversation you've been avoiding. 1 appointment. Not next month. This week. Matter of fact, do it tonight or do it tomorrow morning. But you can know your blood pressure number by Friday. Start there. And before you go, if something in this hour landed for you, I want you to hit subscribe. Because we saved you a seat in the nation. And we'll be right here next week with 3 things. Same place, same job. Your brain, your money, and your life. Because we don't age quietly. We age wealthily. Take care of your brain.